What graphics card are we going to use for our new PC build?
Hi, I'm Paul, this is Diane, and we are the PC Zombies. And today we go to part 5 of a PC we're building for me.
He has very tough requirements because he does programming and video editing.
So far we picked the Intel i9-14900KS CPU, and we picked our motherboard. It's the Asus ROG Formula motherboard. We also picked some very fast memory.
Now we'll explain what graphics card we picked and how we picked it.
And while we were evaluating the performance of my old graphics card, we found a problem that had to be fixed, or otherwise we'd be wasting money on a new graphics card.
At the end of the video, we'll show you how to get that hard-to-get graphics card.
And we'll end up telling you which graphics card we picked, so stick around, it's going to be a doozy.
Sounds fun.
Di's going to ask me questions from the process we highlighted in our last video on how to pick a graphics card. Di?
And the first step is assessing our current GPU performance.
You know, this step always seems so boring to me. Do I have to do it?
Yes, it's important.
Okay, here it is.
The second step is evaluating our current GPU problems.
Okay, to do this, I bring up the task manager, and then the first thing I do is I notice that I have 2 GPUs. The Intel GPU is not supposed to be used for my video editing. It's supposed to be using my graphics card, which is the NVIDIA graphics card. So I click on the NVIDIA GPU. My biggest problems tend to be in my video editing right now, as far as graphics is concerned. And one of the biggest problems I'm having is when I'm working with 8K video and I'm just trying to play a segment I'm working on in the video editor, it just starts skipping, it goes really slow. So let's look at that first. It really isn't doing a lot of work that's maxing out, like on 3D modeling, encoding, decoding, things like that, but it is using a lot of graphics memory, and that's bad. And I'll tell you why it's bad. Notice how it almost gets to the top. When your GPU starts to use so much memory that it's maxing out at the top, it now has to start swapping that memory with your CPU's memory. The CPU's memory is a lot slower than the graphics card dedicated graphics memory. And on top of that, you have to use the PCIe bus to move that data back and forth. So that's going to really slow things down. Paging memory is always the worst thing.
This may sound like a simple question, but how do you prevent paging?
Okay, to prevent paging, you get a new graphics card with more dedicated memory. There's really nothing else. Either I have to start working only in 4K, which makes those great B footage shots that you guys see of our components are going to be a lot less clear, or I need to get more graphics memory. Now, how much graphics memory is on my old card?
You know, we're supposed to, the first step is evaluating your current GPU performance.
It's in the list.
Yes, it is. You should know.
So that's why we do step 1, huh?
Yes.
Okay, it says here my current GPU is 8 gigabytes of memory. If I can get 24 gigabytes, I'll be in heaven.
Oh my gosh, your current GPU must be a turtle.
Well, you got the first syllable right. It's a turd.
The third step is assessing your PCIe requirements for the new graphics card.
I went to the Asus website. I found my motherboard, which is the Z790 Formula motherboard. I went to the tech specs. I went to the expansion slots, which is where they show the PCIe capabilities. And it said that this motherboard, through the CPU, which is what I want for the graphics card, up to an X16 graphics card, which is what we're looking at in general anyways, and a PCIe 5 version, which is very fast. The worry is that you buy a graphics card that's faster or more slots or something like that than what your computer can handle, meaning you're paying money for graphics performance that you're not going to utilize. But my motherboard can handle the fastest I can buy today.
Step 4 is, do you have any power supply demands?
Well, we're building a new computer and we're going to buy a new power supply, so I'll buy a power supply that can handle whatever I need for this graphics card and CPU.
Step 5, do you have any monitor requirements?
When I'm video editing, my main screen is a big 4K screen. It needs to be able to handle DisplayPort, but I also have 2 little HDMI screens. I need a couple HDMI connectors as well.
Step 6, are there any issues with the size?
I'm going to get a big case. In fact, I'm eyeing right now a Fantex case that I really think will be gold for us. I think you'll like it, Di.
Okay.
And it's big, and so we'll have room inside.
Are you going to cool the graphics card?
Yeah, I'm going to cool this graphics card. I'm going to create a custom water loop and cool the graphics card. Now, in order to do that, I have to make sure that the graphics card I buy will be compatible with some sort of water block I could put on it. The nice thing is the water block will be smaller. It will be the thing that you see when you look at the graphics card. The water cooler is going to cool the GPU and the VRMs on the graphics card. So that's going to make the graphics card a lot cooler, which means I could turn up the voltage more, get a little bit more overclocking headroom, make the card go a little bit faster, but it also means that I'm gonna have to void the warranty because I'm taking that air cooler off and putting a water cooler block, a water block on it. What is that?
Is there any insurance on this?
There's no insurance when you're voiding your warranty for a graphics card. You kind of have to, what we'll do is I'll test it first with the air cooler. I'll make sure it works so that we do know at least it works before I break it.
Just having a lot of faith in yourself is not good enough insurance. Okay, it's your PC. What aesthetics do you want on your PC?
The only thing that really matters is not the graphics card I buy, but the water block I buy that I'm going to put where the air cooler was. So the water block needs to be, I like it to be white because our current motherboard is white, our memory is white. I hope to get a white case. I also want it to look really cool. I want it to be able to see the water flowing in and out because the custom loop's going to have water that's a certain color.
Cool.
I want it to absolutely be an awesome thing to look at.
What about RGB lighting?
I do want RGB lighting, good question. And I want it to be, and that again has to be on the water block. If I can light it up, I'm gonna light it up. But that then brings up a new issue. There's two issues here. One is that with the custom water loop, I wanna be able to look at the water temperature inside of management software and use that to determine the RGB light color, because I want it to be red RGBs if everything's running hot and blue RGB if everything's running cool. Now, in order to do that, you have to have some sort of management software you like. And I know Corsair has some really good management software. It's easy to use. I'm not a sponsor of theirs, but I like it. It's the IQ stuff. If you can afford it, it's really good for this. So I'm hoping to get Corsair water block if I can, if they have a cool one that works on this GPU. But if not, I'll buy another brand. If I do buy another brand, I hope that it's either Asus or Fantex, because I think I'm gonna get a Fantex case, and I know I have an Asus motherboard. Plus, Asus and anything that connects to the Asus RGB headers on the motherboard can be managed by Corsair, so I can use IQ for that as well.
The 9th step is selecting the best GPU for the build.
Okay, let's show the specs as we go. The 40 series NVIDIA chips are a little bit easier to get right now, although right now getting any kind of high-end NVIDIA chips is almost impossible. The first thing I noticed is if you look at the 4070 and below, you only get 12 gigabytes of graphics memory. That's not even double what I have now. I know that would be a waste of money. The 4080 has 16 gigabytes, which is double what I have now, which I hope would be enough, but I don't know it would be enough. And in fact, I think I'm gonna have to go for the 24 gigabytes of the 4090. So from my perspective, I'm picking, if I buy a 40 series, I'm gonna buy a 4090 graphics card. Now let's look at the data on the 50 series. They're just now coming out. It's a little bit harder to get. Now what I've done here is I got the 50 series lined up with the 4090, which is the one I'm looking at picking now. And what I see here is that the only 50 series chip that could be close is the 5090, and it has 32 gigabytes. Now that's more than 3 times what I have now. It's probably a little bit more than I need. And in fact, let's just say right now, I'm gonna buy the 4090, and here's why. The 5090s are very hard to get. There are very few, if any, water blocks available yet. If I go with the 4090, I get a little bit more flexibility on the water block matching my graphics card, and I might be able to get one. Here's another reason for picking the 4090 over the 4080 die. We're gonna be overclocking this graphics card. And when you overclock a graphics card, you need to know that you can give it more voltage and it can go a little hotter. Now we're gonna water cool it, so that's gonna be fine. In fact, the 4090 has a bigger chip, which means more space to cool that chip. And it also has a larger memory bus. And it's 384-bit bus versus 256-bit bus of the 4080. At the end of the day, with the silicon lottery and everything else, a 4090 is a better chip almost always. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna try to get an overclockable chip as well. OC in the name of the graphics card if I could find it.
And we're on the final step, how to pick that hard to get graphics card.
I'm made my decision. I'm gonna buy an Asus NVIDIA 4090 graphics card. I can go up into Amazon and look for it, and it comes out like very hard to find anything on Amazon because they're hard to get right now. So here's what I did, and I actually have already done this, so I'm gonna show you the steps here. I went to the Asus website. I found the graphics card I wanted, a 4090. I went ahead and got the white because it was available to me, but here we only have the black available. And I picked the white one with the OC. See this one over here? And it had a thing that said notify me when it's available, when I got it. And that was when we first started this channel. So I got it, but it was hard. So if you want to get the black one, it does say a price here, and it does say notify me when it's available. So you can just click on that, have it notify you when it's available. But I'll tell you what, when it's available, you get that email, even if it's at 4 in the morning, you better buy it right away. We missed the first 1 or 2. We were about 10 or 15 minutes into it, and it's already sold out. So when it's available, you be first. Now, the nice thing is you're buying it directly from ASUS, so you're not getting it for an extra overpriced, you know, maybe a scalper selling on Amazon or something. And the other thing that's nice about it is because it's from ASUS, it's got the full warranty and everything. You can trust that that graphics card's gonna be a good graphics card and they will stand behind it.
How hard is it to get the 4080? You don't have to overclock it, which voids the warranty.
No. It's not the overclocking that voids the warranty, it's the water block. Di's gonna have to get used to this. We're gonna spend $2,000 on a graphics card. I already spent it. We got it.
All right.
Okay, so we found and we got our graphics card. But at the moment I said buy it and I paid the $2,000 to ASUS, I immediately went up to Amazon and I looked for a water block. Remember, you have to find one at the same time. Now, I already pre-checked that there are water blocks for the ASUS 4090 Strix graphics cards. So I knew I would be able to get it, but I didn't know which brand or what I was gonna get. So I went up to Amazon and what I found was the first one, like I said, I like the IQ software. So I looked at the Corsair water block. What do you think about this one, Di?
It's ugly. It looks like it has a fan on.
I agree. It's black, it's not clear, you can't see the water going through it. In fact, it even has a fan to cool the VRMs. What we want is something specifically for the graphics card we bought so that it actually has water cooling against the VRMs as well as the GPU. And we also want to see the water come and go. Corsair also has the Hydro X series water blocks, but they're very hard to get. Let's see if there's something better. So in looking further, I noticed there's Alpha Cool, EKWB, and Fantex. Hey, Fantex is the one we're gonna use for our case. That's cool. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, this looks good. This is clear. It's got great aesthetics. It's made specifically for the ASUS 4090 Strix boards. I like this. They only have it in black and chrome. So what I'll do is I'll go to the Fantex website, which is fantex.store. You could go to fantex.com to read about it, but fantex.store will tell you what they actually sell. And I already bought this water block as well earlier. And fortunately, as you see here, when I get into the store and I find the water block I want, it actually says they have it available only in chrome on the store. So Fantex is sold out on it also. But it did have it available in the past in white and black, and I had already bought this, so I got lucky. I already got this water block in white for my build. So I'm actually very lucky. I love this water block too. So before we wrap up the video, let's talk about this. I already tested the graphics card from ASUS and it worked fine. But look at the air cooler when I put it on my motherboard. It's way too big. So I went ahead and I already adjusted it. I took the air cooler off and I put the water block on. So our warranty's already voided.
Okay.
But look at it now. Isn't this a cool graphics card on our motherboard? I can't wait to finish this build.
You picked a really good graphics card. It looks like we covered all the requirements, and I appreciate the tips and tricks.
Thanks. All right. This is cool. So that's it, guys. Please stick around, subscribe so you can see the rest of this build.
And we appreciate the thumbs ups.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Adios.
Stop stepping on my line, woman.
You're stepping on my line.